25, and going into juz number 26 as we're reciting the Quran and we're listening to the Quran. These are 3 juz that have 7 surahs that are tied together. You know, if you could think of a garland, a heart, you know, they have flowers in it that you put around. It's like that there are 7 jewels in that surah, perhaps you want to say. And all these 7 jewels in these surahs are tied together with 2 letters that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned. And those 2 letters are at the beginning of each surah. And they're called Ha Meem. That's it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He starts all these 7 surahs with the 2 letters Ha Meem. And then these surahs start. What are these surahs? It's Surah Ghafir. It's also known as Al-Mu'min in juz 24. Fussilat. Surah Al-Shura that we want to go over, inshallah, some of the summary. Surah Al-Zukhruf. Surah Al-Dukhan. Al-Jathiyah. And Surah Al-Ahqaf, which is in the 26th juz. Now what I want to do is I want to start, because we have covered Surah Al-Ghafir, the one who forgives, and we have covered Fussilat, the explained ayat in the Quran. We want to go over Surah Al-Shura. And Al-Shura means mutual consultation. And this is the way of believers that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran. Remember how we have talked about the list of importance, primary importance of the list that Allah has mentioned in the Quran, like Surah Luqman, the advice that He gives to His son, in Surah Al-Mu'minun, how believers should be. Here's another list that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions about people who are believers, and they also are people who trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what are their characteristics? He starts that they are the ones who avoid major sins. And they avoid al-fawahish. They avoid indecent acts. Right? What could be the indecent acts? Everybody knows. These are not small indecent acts. These are major indecent acts. So al-fawahish, that's the word that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used. And when they become angry, they forgive. That is just their state. That even when they're angry, they're willing to forgive and forget about things. With their families, outside of their families, neighbors, and things like that. Also, there are people who always establish salah. There are people who are constantly remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they're always answering the call to Allah. They're in that constant state of mind where they're talking to Allah Azza wa Jal. And the word that is used is tajib, is jawab, which you could understand that they are answering to Allah. Like there's a constant reminder of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then they also do infaq. They spend out of their wealth, of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them. And amruhum shura bainahum, their affairs are by mutual consultation. And this is one of the pillars of this Muslim community, that things are discussed within the family, outside of the family, within a community, within institutions. They're always done based on this discussion that we have with each other. If you look at it, Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he took Ismail alayhi salam to prophet, and when he had this dream of sacrificing his son, he said to him that I see this in my dream that I'm sacrificing you. But he said, "Fandur mada tara." What do you think of it? He's seeking his consultation. He's seeking his advice. And this is the way with believers Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps teaching us. Although it's known that these dreams of prophets are not dreams of regular people. This is revelation. But this is the way of people that within a family one must consult with people who are within the household, inshallah. And when they're attacked, they defend themselves. This is the list that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about in Surah Al-Shura. The next surah he talks about Al-Zukhruf. And Zukhruf, it talks about the gold, or you could say the ornaments of gold. And this is one of the last Makki surahs. All of these surahs are towards the end of the prophetic time, when he was at the end of the time in Mecca. And he is told, فَاسْفَحْ عَنْهُمْ وَقُلْ سَلَامٍ. He's told, and if you look at it, the word safha, right, which means page, right, safha, if to turn a page. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling him, just let it be for a little while, okay? After this, we're going to take you out of this, right? From Mecca to Medina. There's a hint that's given here. So he's told, فَاسْفَحْ عَنْهُمْ, just bear with them for a little while. وَقُلْ سَلَامٍ, and say peace to them. Don't wrangle with these people who want to wrangle with you, right? Who want to argue with you. Not because they're interested in the guidance, but they want to simply argue with you just so they could exhaust you. And similarly, Muslim community, if they want to wrangle, if they want to argue, if they want to mock the Muslims, well, we have better things to do rather than to get involved in a mudslinging contest or dirt throwing contest. This is not the way of the Prophet ﷺ and not the way of his ummah. And then he's told, قُلْ سَلَامٌ فَسَوْفَ يَعْلَمُونَ. They shall know. Don't worry about these people who are not mocking you. Let them do their thing. You do your work, inshallah. The next surah, which is Ad-Dukhan, and it talks about smoke. And this is the punishment that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about that is coming. If you know that there are smoke signals, if you see fire, you'll see on the horizon smoke. And smoke comes in, you see it before you see the fire. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is hinting, perhaps what you're seeing out there, because it talks about a famine and the smoke that people would see. And then it talks about the day of judgment. That what you're seeing right now is, and your action, it's leading to the fire, basically. You're physically seeing the smoke, but it's telling you where the fire is. And guess what? You're going towards that fire. So, with these hints, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He talks about the severe punishment in hellfire for those people who are sinners, and meaning who are kuffar, that they will be given thorny trees to eat. And they won't be able to swallow, and boiling water to be going on top of them. So this is another surah that talks about the hereafter. And then Al-Jathiyah, which is in juz number 25. Al-Jathiyah means to kneel down. Literally, if you look at it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about that you will see nations kneeling down. So they'll be standing like this. And the reason why He talks about it to the Quraysh is that you're going to be humbled at the end. Don't think you're arrogant. Your arrogance that you're carrying with you and the pride that you have, I'm going to break your back. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying. That you shall see on that day that, and this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala getting angry with these people. These are not ayat that He's telling them, oh, you shall have forgiveness. Those people who make tawbah, or those people who are arrogant, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that you shall see on that day that all these individuals who are really puffed up, they shall see on that day that nations before them will be humble, and they will be fearful of the punishment. And the last surah that I want to talk about is Surah Al-Ahqaf, which means sand dunes, and this is the last of the 7 surahs. And in it there's a beautiful dua, and I can't emphasize enough these du'as that I'm talking to you about. These are common du'as that every believer in every time has recited, from the Prophet ﷺ to our time. Unfortunately, some of us have gotten busy with other things rather than memorizing what we should be repeating to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It talks about a dua when a man reaches the age of 40 years old. And he says to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, رَبِّي أَوْزِعْنِي أَنْ أَشْكُرَ نِعْمَتَكَ الَّتِي أَنْعَمْتَ عَلَيَّ وَعَلَى وَالِدَيَّ. Increase me, O my Lord, so that I could show or give gratitude to you for what you have given me and my parents. وَأَنْ أَعْمَلَ صَالِحًا تَرْضَى. And I may act righteous so that you are pleased. وَأَصْلِحْ لِي فِي ذُرِّيَّتِي. And make my progeny good. You're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to take care of them. إِنِّي تُبْتُ إِلَيْكَ وَإِنِّي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. I seek forgiveness to you, and I am amongst those who submit to you first and foremost. I am a Muslim. With this, inshallah, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the same dua, inshallah, memorize it. It's in Surah Al-Ahqaf, juz number 26, in the middle of the surah. رَبِّي أَوْزِعْنِي أَنْ أَشْكُرَ نِعْمَتَكَ الَّتِي أَنْعَمْتَ عَلَيَّ وَعَلَى وَالِدَيَّ وَأَنْ أَعْمَلَ صَالِحًا تَرْضَاهُ وَأَصْلِحْ لِي فِي ذُرِّيَّتِي إِنِّي تُبْتُ إِلَيْكَ وَإِنِّي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. آمين برحمتك